touch of cream silk. No other conditioner quite gives you the touch of cream silk. Cream silk.
How often do you find you haven't got a thing to wear? Make It Easy will change all that. Each fortnight you get this special kit containing a strong, easy-to-follow full-size pattern, plus a book that shows you how 2 simple shapes give you these 10 great looks, with step-by-step instructions that will even get you out of trouble if you go wrong, and 8 technique cards to make tricky things like binding simple. In part 1 alone you could choose from all these. It's like owning your own clothes shop. Make it easy. The first kit is at your newsagent now.
Once upon a time, there was a little boy whose cough was driving his chums up the wall. Then one of them remembered.
Come on, Tixie Licks!
So off they went to get some. After all, they'd seen a commercial that said, Tixie Licks is specially made to soothe children's coughs to sleep. They gave the little boy a spoonful, and before you could say, available only from chemists, he was sleeping soundly, and his chums could enjoy their evening in peace.
Dream, dream, dream.
No 2 children are alike, but at least now there's something they nearly all agree on. New Crest Plus gel. It not only looks, but tastes absolutely terrific. Come to think of it, if they carry on like this, the other thing they could have in common is fewer fillings than the previous generation. Crest Plus Gel, a tasty new way to fight tooth decay.
Well, now on Anglia, the final item of the night, and this evening we take a look at working together.
During the week of prayer for Christian unity, we've been looking so far at groups of Christians who come together, working for organisations or causes. But increasingly in these days, when the churches are growing closer together, there are many Christians who've got experience of more than one denomination. And one man who might be described almost as a walking ecumenical movement is Dr. Douglas de Lacy. Dr. de Lacy, you're at present a lecturer in a Church of England theological college, yes, but you began your Christian life as a Baptist. How did the change come about?
I wouldn't describe it quite so much as a change in that I don't regard myself as having left the Baptist Church in despair or disgust. When I was an undergraduate, I worshipped both in Baptist churches and indeed in Brethren assemblies, and also in my college chapel, which was fairly high Anglican. And I found those 2 extremes of the high and the low suited me very nicely.
But there are some formidable obstacles to overcome to change from a Baptist to a Church of England man. For example, the idea of bishops is very different.
Yes, that's true. Baptists, of course, don't have very many bishops. In fact, we don't have any. I think I am not particularly concerned about matters of church government, not to the extent that something like that would actually influence which church I felt I ought to belong to. I am very happy to accept the authority of my bishops, but I don't think that was a major point in my changing.
What about the question of baptism itself? Because in the Anglican Church, by and large, practices infant baptism, where, of course, Baptists only practice believers' baptism. That must have been a hard pill to swallow.
That was difficult, I agree. It's not quite true to say, of course, that the Anglican Church only practices infant baptism. They're perfectly happy to baptize people who have not been baptized before and become Christians as adults. It seemed to me, thinking the issue through, that the attitudes to baptism that the Anglican and Baptist churches have are neither of them the same as what I see in the New Testament, neither of them precisely. So it wasn't a question of moving from the church that has got it wrong to the church that has got it right, but from one modern compromise to another.
Now, in your work training Church of England men to be priests, does the fact that you were a Baptist add something to the way in which you teach?
Yes, I think it does. Inevitably, people brought up in one particular tradition come to their theological studies with a variety of presuppositions which are never really thought through. And I've been interested to see, in teaching exclusively Anglicans, that many of their beliefs, many of their attitudes about the authority of the church, about their bishops, about church government, about the way they celebrate the Eucharist, are attitudes which are very different from mine because of my different background. And it's been very exciting to explore these things together from our different positions, rather than one Anglican trying to get another Anglican to see that there are other ways of looking at it.
Now, what about your family and friends? And did the change have any impact on their lives?
Well, I was single when I made the change in principle. My wife, in fact, is already an Anglican, and I was in the process of making the move while I was courting, I suppose. Most of my friends have accepted very graciously the fact that although I no longer worship with them, I am still in some sense one of them. And it's been rather nice not to move from one church to another so much perhaps as to make a bridge between two churches.
Now, as I said at the start of the programme, many Christians are finding that they change denominations. Do you think that this is a trend which is for the health of the church or for the unity of the church, or is it just a sign of a rather weak church where you can swap around from one to the other?
I think there's a danger it could be a sign of a weak church, but I hope not. From my own point of view, I think I'd say that I have gained a great deal from all the churches I've been involved in. I think there are dangers in assuming that cultural, social issues are more important than they might be. Anglican worship is perhaps culturally different from Baptist worship, and I enjoy both cultures. I hope that people who move around aren't leaving a church in despair, but rather broadening their own experience in a way that perhaps could be for the good of both churches.
I have no wish to see the Baptist church disappear, but briefly, would you recommend what you've done for other people to try?
I hope it'll happen in both directions. I hope that Anglicans will have the courage to go and see what the Baptists are like, and indeed to think through their attitudes to the church authority, to baptism and other issues.
Douglas de Lacy, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that brings our programmes to a close for tonight, and of course I hope very much I'll try that again, and I hope very much that you've enjoyed them and that you'll join us again tomorrow. I'll be back with you on Saturday evening, so until then, from all of us at Anglia House in Norwich, good night, God bless you. Have a good day tomorrow. It's 30 seconds after 12:48, so let's have a look at the clock. And that final reminder, don't forget to switch off your set, unplug it please, and good night.